Well, one of the biggest wins this last election was the double-digit victory by businessman Dean Phillips over five-term incumbent Representative Erik Paulsen. Phillips beat Paulsen by 11 percentage points and says he's ready to champion a progressive agenda for Minnesota's 3rd congressional district. And Congressman-elect Dean Phillips joins us now. Congressman-elect, thank you so much for coming in, and congratulations.
Hey, it's great to be back, Esme. Thank you.
All right. Let me ask you, first of all, your thoughts, and I know you've posted on social media about the late President George Bush.
Yeah, as I posted, I was a young intern in 1989 in Washington, and he was an extraordinary leader. Transcended politics back when the presidents did. Man of integrity and of strength and decency, and navigated this country through some awfully challenging times of the collapse of the Soviet Union, and I think he should be celebrated, and I'm certainly doing so today.
All right. Congressman-elect, one of the things that you campaigned on, really the chief point in your campaign, was campaign finance reform. Right. That is going to be the first bill that the new democratically controlled House is advancing, and you tweeted about that. You were actually at the podium. Speaker Pelosi was there. Speaker nominee Pelosi was there. Tell us about that.
It was an extraordinary moment. It is what I campaigned on. I think it is foundational to this country if we hope to affect any change that I know most of this country wants, and that's the whole reform agenda. Ethics reform, voter protection, and most importantly, campaign finance reform. And knowing that that will be the first order of business after we're sworn in on January 3rd is both thrilling and exciting and absolutely necessary.
Right. The congressional district that you are going to represent, CD3, had the highest voter turnout in the nation, 71%. Why do you think that was?
I think it's because we, as a campaign, had an ethos and a slogan of everyone's invited. And we chose to run a campaign that's quite different than most because we didn't want to divide. We wanted to invite more people in. And I think that had an effect. And from teenagers to retirees, an extraordinary, extraordinary group of women who activated for the first time in their lives, many told me, was a joyful element of our campaign, and I think should be the model by which campaigns are run in the future on both sides of the aisle. And I got a lot of high fives in Washington during orientation for being #1 in the country.
That being said, you did campaign on unity. You are going into a very divided capital city and Congress. Among the issues that are out there is there are many Democrats in Washington who want to seek impeachment against President Donald Trump. Is that something you support?
Well, let me answer your first question first, which is about unity. What people should know is that there's a lot more unity in Congress and in Washington than many would see in the media. Even our first couple weeks during orientation, we have a class of 66 incoming freshmen from the most diverse class of Democratic freshmen the nation's ever seen, and some extraordinary Republicans, too. I spent a lot of time with my new Republican colleagues. There's a lot of collegiality, a lot of decency, and a lot of appetite to work together. So I do really believe that's going to come.
But what about impeachment?
And impeachment, I'm one who said from the very beginning of my campaign that we should wait for the Mueller investigation to conclude. It is in the best interest of this country to wait. That is how this process works. And based on the evidence presented and the facts, only then and only then should we even consider impeachment. Anyone who calls for it in advance of that, I think, is a dereliction of leadership and is not in the best interest of this country.
All right. Congressman-elect, I want to ask you about the threat of a government shutdown over the border wall that the president wants. Your thoughts about that, and from what you've talked to with your new future colleagues, what do you think is going to happen?
Well, the consensus is amongst most that the border wall itself is an ineffective use of an extraordinary amount of money, $25 billion plus. There are better ways to achieve what we need, which is secure borders. I absolutely advocate for secure borders. We can do so with human resources, with technologies that now exist. There's no question that we need to enhance it, but securing that amount of money for a border wall in light of the needs of this country, I do not favor. And we'll see the outcome, but that's something that I'm not in favor of.
Well, Congressman-elect Dean Phillips, thank you so much for coming in. And